Good morning. I'd like to read to you something before we begin Aspire this morning. It comes from Gibran in the Prophet. When you work, you are a flute through whose heart the whispering of the hours turns to music. We don't think of work as a poetic gesture, do we? We see all the bumper stickers and all the ideas that depict hating work. Well, I'd like to change that attitude a little bit and offer you some insight into work. It's something that we spend a great deal of our time and our energy in. And if we're going to spend so much time in our life working, shouldn't we be doing something that we enjoy, that we like? This discourse offered to us by Gibran and the Prophet will be a meaningful one. In the second half of Aspire, we're going to have question and answer again on the subject of working. And I think you'll find that to be quite interesting, especially for my congregation. So come and join us for Aspire as we work on the subject of work. Aspire to your heart, and welcome to our program. Welcome to Aspire. We're so grateful that you chose to be with us. Thank you. Thank you very much. Do you know that we spend 1/3 of our life, in fact, a little over 1/3 of our life, doing something that the majority of people in this country are unhappy with or don't like? I was reading in a popular psychology magazine recently that we as Americans spend over 1/3 of our life engaged in an activity that we are unfulfilled in, that we don't find a sense of completion in, or we feel a sense of dissatisfaction with. Do you know what it is? It is work. Our occupations, work. Now, we all have seen the jokes and the bumper stickers on work. I read one the other morning, I owe, so off to work I go, something like that, depicting the idea that the only reason that we are working is because we owe so much money. I saw a man in a little VW that just said on the back of his bumper sticker, "I hate work." Why would we spend over 1/3 of our life doing something that we hate? Doesn't make a bit of sense to me. And if we are so unhappy with our occupations or our job, why don't we make a change and do something about it? It is very important that we understand what work is. And I've never met anyone who knew more about it than the teachings that I have read through the Prophet from Gibran. He offers us some beautiful insights into work. I want to share them in this particular discourse with you, because all of us basically are working. Oh, it's not the jobs that we do, it's what we do with our life. And I hope to take you beyond your occupation, take you into yourself. Let me read to you a teaching that Gibran gives to us from the book, The Prophet. It's a magnificent work. You work that you may keep pace with the earth and the soul of the earth. For to be idle is to become a stranger unto the seasons, and to step out of life's procession that marches in majesty and proud submission towards the infinite. Always you have been told that work is a curse and labor a misfortune. But I say to you that when you work, you fulfill a part of the earth's furthest dream assigned to you when that dream was born. And in keeping yourself with labor, you are in truth loving life. And to love life through labor is to be intimate with life's innermost secrets. What a powerful idea. What a beautiful concept. Let me share with you, kind of sum it up. If we are really going to understand what work is not what you do. Work is staying in harmony with life. It is a worship of life. It is a worship, a spiritual experience of life. And the trouble is, we look at work as a curse. We look at it as a misfortune, and it is not meant to be a misfortune. It is meant to be a blessing. All of us should look at our occupations, not as something that we do to earn a living, but as a way of flowing or harmonizing with life. What a sad thing to do, to spend the major portion of our life doing something that we don't like to do. We've been taught, a part of it is our culture and what we've been brought up to believe, that work is a misfortune, a curse, that if we have to work, it's a terrible thing. But really, take a look at it. If what we do is what we love to do, how can it be a curse? How can it be a misfortune? When I was growing up, I think the emphasis was much like it is today. You were to get a job that would earn you as much money as you could possibly earn. It didn't matter if you were necessarily interested in the job itself, but you were to earn a living, and that was the major thing. And the better education you had, the more money, presumably, you were supposed to make. I always knew that I would be doing what I'm doing. I've enjoyed my work. Oh, there have been times when it's been extremely painful. But the bottom line is, I was very blessed in my life that, for me, I stayed to the thing that I always wanted to do. I think in every person in this room and every person watching us, there is a secret longing to do some job or to work in something that allows us to feel creative, allows us to feel, well, partaking in the harmony of life, partaking in our talents. You know, when we just do a job to earn money or to have lots of money, there's something empty within us. Let me read to you another section of Gibran, where he gives us a little deeper key into how we should be thinking about our work. We have been taught that certain occupations are noble and certain occupations are not. Listen to what he says. I have often heard you say, as if speaking in sleep, he who works in marble and finds the shape of his own soul in the stone is nobler than he who plows the soil. We do have a problem with this, don't we? We do think that there are certain occupations that are better than others. We always think that the grass is greener on the other side. Let me tell you something, and listen to me. Try to put down your disappointment about your life or your job or your occupation, your resistance towards working, and listen to me. Any occupation that you have that is not hurting another person, that is not taking advantage of another person, that is not willfully taking advantage of someone in a harmful way, is a noble profession if you are doing it out of noble causes within you. All professions are noble. It doesn't matter what you do. As long as what you do makes sense to you, brings you a sense of fulfillment and completion, and there is joy in what you do. Joy in what you do. If there is not joy, if there is no happiness in what you do, it is time to stop and say, I need a change in my life. I don't want to waste over a third of my life doing something that depletes me from my happiness and my fulfillment. Think about it. Another concept I want to share with you from Gibran. I know this sounds like a lot, but we have such a small amount of time and so much beauty to cover with this, so many things that he shared with us. Listen to this teaching that he gave us again from the prophet. This is one that means a lot to me. Work is love made visible. And if you cannot work with love, but only with disdain, it is better that you should leave your work and sit at the gate of the temple and take alms of those who work with joy. For if you bake a bread with indifference, you bake a bitter bread that feeds but half a man's hunger. And if you grudge the crushing of grapes, your grudge distills a poison in the wine. And if you sing as through angels and love not the singing, you muffle man's ears to the voices of the day and the voices of the night. He's saying something very significant here. Motive in our work is everything. Motive. If what I am doing is just going through the motions, it means nothing. About 1979, 1980, we had a recession here in our area that was just terrible. And I had a few friends here at the center and a few friends in my life who worked in construction. And construction was difficult during that period of time. I was going to the radio station to drop off radio tapes one day, and there was something very unusual happening. Some building was being built during that recession, and you didn't see many people working. As I drove by, I was astonished. I saw this sign that the workers had put up. Work is love made visible. I was shocked. I was thrilled to see that. I thought they read Gibran. They had a sign. Work is love made visible. And it is. To love our work is sacred. It is the motive behind our giving. It is not important what you do. It's important how you do it. When we are working, we are finding ourselves. We are participating in the flow of life. I want you to stop and rethink your work for a moment. How do you do it? If you are working to earn a living, you're not living. If you're working because you think you have to, it will always be that way for you. And work will take more out of you than it can give. But if you're working because it's a joy, and it's no longer work anymore, now it becomes a part of chopping wood and carrying water, a part of living your life out of love, then you have practiced and achieved the Zen of working. I want to give you some closing remarks, because I couldn't do it better than Gibran gave it to us in the prophet. I again want to read from the prophet to you. These closing words give us an insight into how we should be working. And what is it to work with love? It is to weave the cloth with threads drawn from your own heart, even as if your beloved were to wear that cloth. It is to build a house with affection, even as if your beloved were to dwell in that house. It is to sow seeds with tenderness and reap the harvest with joy, even as if your beloved were to eat the fruit. It is to charge all things you fashion with the breath of your own spirit. To charge things in the breath of your own spirit. When we work out of love. Everything you do, we need to do in love. You know, we came to this planet not to survive. We didn't come here to pay a karmic debt. We came here to learn one very important lesson in everything that we do. It needs to be there. We came to this planet to love, to be joyous, to have a wonderful time, to inspire ourselves, to be a channel of God's infinite good. Our work should be a channel of God's loving hand, and it should flow through us and to us from every direction. And something interesting happens. When work turns from labor into love, we prosper. And we find a great deal of significance in our life. No longer is life a chore. Life is an opportunity. Well, we spend 1/3 of our life, a little bit over, working. Doesn't it make sense to do it in a way that brings about fulfillment and joy? I hope this little discussion has helped you. And I hope you'll stay tuned, because we're going to be right back and we're going to have some questions and answers on work with our audience. Thank you for being with us. Thank you. God bless. Thank you. We're having a wonderful time. We're having a wonderful time. We wish you were here. But since you're not, we're going to have a question and answer on this discourse on work. Work, which we do. We spend 1/3, a little bit more than 1/3 of our life doing something that statistics say we don't enjoy at all, or we find a lack of fulfillment in. And so in this particular segment, we'll have some questions and answers on it, maybe elaborate a little bit more to help you. Questions on the concept of work or whatever else you have on your minds. Hi, Arthur.
How can we know if we are doing what we are meant to do in our area of work?
I don't really think that there's anything that you were meant to do. I think there are things that you discover you can do. I don't think there's anything that, I don't think that God took Leonardo da Vinci and said you will only be a painter. You know, I just don't believe that. I don't believe God tells anyone to do anything. There is a creative flow within us. And if we get in touch with that, it allows us to do anything that is necessary. I know some people who are so talented, they can do 5 or 6 things real well. And the problem they have is choosing which one they want to do. Can you believe being that talented? I know people like that. But the problem is in not choosing. So in not choosing one of the 5, they go bananas and they become apathetic. Do something, do it well, do it till it fulfills you, and when it stops and you find that it's not fulfilling you anymore inside of yourself, stop it. Find something else that you can do. I don't know if we're supposed to have a career doing one thing our whole life. Some people really like doing that, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think that a lot of us, if we are discovering ourselves, we start changing. We start wanting to do other things and be other places, trying other methods. Work really is nothing more than finding out a little bit more about ourselves if we're doing it right. Find out a little bit more, what can I do here, oh my gosh, I didn't know I could do that. The major thing is never to measure yourself against anyone else. Do what you do, look at it as a gift. Your work should be very sacred. It should be worship. You know, people say when you go to church you're worshiping, but you're really not. It's when you're working that you're worshiping. It's when you're doing those daily things, those one moment at a time things. That's where the worship is, because that's where your focus and your concentration is. So take a look at what you do. And if you're happy in what you do it well. And if you're not happy, start looking within. What else can you be? Well, who else are you other than the one that you've been? All professions, please remember, are noble, as long as they are not hurting or taking advantage of another person. Next question.
It seems to me that people limit themselves on their jobs, kind of question what their motives are. Sometimes they have a fear of success, sometimes they have a fear of failure. What really are their motives?
I don't know what our motives are sometimes. I think that the Peter Principle comes into play. Honestly, I do, Jeff. I think the Peter Principle is I've risen to the highest level of my inadequacy sometimes, and I don't want to go any further. I think sometimes we're afraid to succeed, because if we succeed, then we have to take on all that responsibility. What will be next? It's like a mother who has had 4 children, Jeff, and now she's down to the 4th child, and the 4th child's about to go off to college, and there are no more. Now what does she do? Okay, she's afraid of that moment. What happens when you've bought all the fancy cars you can, you get down to the last one, and there's not another one to buy? You know, I think we're afraid. What do we do next? Try not to be afraid of what you're going to do next. Try to make the next step something a little more integral, maybe a little more creative on your part. We are afraid of success as a whole. We don't know sometimes how we're going to handle it. We're afraid how it might change our life. And those are things that we have to deal with. That's why we're doing the work we're doing. It's why we study what we study, that we might know more about ourselves. And the more you are aware of about yourself, the less you'll have to fear. Next question.
Greg, I've worked with many different types of people and personalities, and occasionally I run into someone who really pushes the button.
Yeah, pushes you hard.
What do I do? It pushes it hard.
Yeah.
How do I handle that?
At work?
At work.
We all have buttons. And of course, you're never dealing with other people, okay? You're never dealing with, if I'm pushing your buttons, I'm not your problem. The problem is, where did this button come from? And why is it sticking out? Because you'll find out if you look at it objectively. The people don't push our buttons so much as they bump into them, because our button is sticking out so much. Okay? It extends out so far that people can't help but press it. And then we go, you pressed my button. Well, and I'd say, hey, lady, it was sticking out so far I couldn't get into the room without pressing it. You know what I mean? We've had that. Take a look at the button. What is it? And if you have a button, and I think all of us have a button, I have them and you have them, take a look at them. Try to heal them. And the way you heal them is not to deny their existence, not to try to suppress your buttons, but to see your buttons for what they are. Again, seeing where they are, where they come from, is 99% of the cure. The other 1% is laughing. I see this. It's not necessary. It's silly. I don't have to have this anymore in my life. I could have had a V8. Now I've got a V8. You know what I mean? I could have had a happy life. Now I choose a happy life. Don't let other people get in your way. Love them. Understand them. Be compassionate with them. Seek to harmonize as much as you can without surrender. But if you've got a button and people are pushing them, take a look at how many buttons. There are some days I've got buttons all around me and everybody's pushing my buttons and I'm going, why is everybody so cranky today? And then if I really look at it, I say, it's Gregory who's been cranky all day. It's not been anyone else. And then there are days when it's running smooth and beautiful like it is today. And I'm thinking, gee, why can't it always be this way? Just depends upon what we're working on. Next question. We got loads of time.
What do we do if our work is not in harmony with the rest of our lives?
Oh, what do we do if our work is not in harmony with the rest of our lives? Get out of there. You know, right now, something's got, you know, this happens, let me tell you. We take jobs in the beginning of our spiritual study, and these are jobs that we think are good jobs, they pay well, or we can put up with them, and we go along with them for a period of time. We deepen in our study, we'll deepen in our meditation, and then all of a sudden, from out of nowhere, this job looks inappropriate. It's not the same anymore. It's not what it once was. Now what do we do with that job? We have to get rid of it. It's time to make a change. It's time not to do that anymore, but to find something that allows us to harmonize with our life a little better. Those people are courageous people. They make midlife changes in the middle of the stream, and some people say that is absurd to make a change at that level of your life. But if it's not in harmony with what you're learning about yourself, what good is it? Every day is a day of living. Every day is a day of worship. Everything that you do is a form of that worship. If what I am doing for a living is now causing me to feel like it's out of harmony with my nature, and I stay with it, I betray myself. Do I not? Is that not the highest end of blasphemy? To be doing something because you feel you have to and you're not in harmony with it anymore? That's a career, a life decision that all of us make on a one-to-one basis. It's an important one. Make the changes that are necessary. Have the courage. Remember, it's your life. The most tragic thing that can happen is that you come to the end of your life and you go, I blew it. I never did what I wanted to. I never was the person I wanted to be. I didn't love like I wanted to love. I didn't give like I wanted to give. I didn't share like I wanted to share. I didn't work like I wanted to work. All I did was do what I was expected to do. I lived like I was expected to live. I acted like I was expected to act. And I'm mad as hell. And there's nothing more I can do about it. I'm dying. That would be a terrible way to go. Better to say, I lived my life the way it made sense to me. It was crazy. It was interesting. I had a lot of fun. Sometimes it was very constructive, and other times it seemed very destructive, but it meant a lot to me. And God bless me for having the courage to live my life in a way that made sense to me. And if those people around me couldn't accept it, bless you. Bless you for being with us. I hope we answered some of your questions out there and your questions here. Thank you very much. Thank you.